fifth-year guy this year, David Jenkins, that's new. But we have a lot of freshmen. We have 2 freshmen that redshirted last year. So there's a lot of new faces out there, but some of them have been familiar to college basketball before, Brian Waddell and Trey Kaufman-Wren. So then we're excited. Obviously, you know, we have a good start with Zach Edey, even though he didn't practice today. You know, we think he's going to have a great year for us. We have a very talented front court. I really feel like we have one of the best front courts in the country. I really like our guard play. We just don't have a great deal of experience together, and that's where we have to work. You know, we have to work towards, you know, being really good together and playing well together and defending and just kind of finding that right mix of guys.
Watching this practice today, a lot of little things on this. You're just going over some very detailed stuff there, it seems like, early on in the process. Is that kind of part of this, getting acclimated with everybody?
That's just kind of part of how we do things. Yeah. So being detail-oriented in terms of screening, defending, doing all the little things, embracing the physicality of the game. You find a lot of guys work on their game. They put a lot of time into it. Obviously, we have access to them in the summer and the fall. But until you get into like really, full practices and stuff, guys have kind of been playing two-hand touch. And in the Big Ten, they don't play two-hand touch. So we have to be able to embrace the physicality of the game. I think it's more a mindset than anything. I think that's a very important piece. But no, just honing in on the details and trying to be as fundamentally sound as possible. I know that sounds hokey, but teams that have a lot of discipline that is fundamentally sound, they normally have a lot of fun.
What does the addition of David Jenkins Jr. bring to this team?
Well, experience. For a young backcourt, I really like our young guards, but somebody that's played a lot of games. And obviously, he's been able to put the ball in the basket. He can really score. And he's had a lot of different experiences. Obviously, this is 4 school in 6 years. And so I think he's transitioned into those other schools, even though he followed his coach in his first move. But just glad we have him. I think he's going to really help us and give us that scoring punch.
You lost a lot of your leaders on your team last year. Who do you expect to fill those roles, and how do you expect them to fill them?
Well, everybody always takes their thoughts from the previous team, and when you've been somewhere a long time, you can kind of piece your team together like it's different teams, not always the team that was last year. We had obviously some really talented guys that we lost. Sasha Stefanovic was a really good player for us. Jaden Ivey obviously was a great talent. Travion Williams was a super player in our league. Eric Hunter did a lot of things for us, was very efficient last year offensively and made the all-defensive team. Isaiah Thompson started half the year, could make threes, take care of the basketball. And so, there's a lot of pieces there. And a lot of people dwell on kind of what you lost instead of the positives of the people that you have. And you got to let it organically kind of happen. And you're kind of finding, who can guard, who can take care of the basketball, who can play with who, all those little things. But I don't like to come to those answers. And I know that stinks when you're interviewing somebody. But I don't like to have an answer about something that I haven't seen yet. And so just trying to work with those guys and just kind of seeing who plays harder than who, who's more productive than the other guys, and then kind of what best group can go together. So, but we had a good team last year. I thought our talent was a little bit higher than our production. That's one of the few times I think that's happened at Purdue in the last 20 years. And so, you want to be able to be more productive than your talent. And even though we had a great year, we didn't win the league. I thought we should have advanced further in the tournament. We won 29 games, which is pretty cool, right? But it's still you want to do better, and you want to do better for the fans and the former players, and so we have a lot of work to do, but yet we're excited about it. We got a very high skill level. We have a lot of people on our team that can shoot the basketball, and we have a very good center that's established. But we also got a very deep front line and some very exciting young guards. But we just got to speed up a little bit in our backcourt with the experience.
Now that he's healthy, what have you seen from Caleb, and what kind of role do you think he can have this year?
Well, he didn't play in the summer, so I think he can do a couple different things. I think last year playing the 4, he did some good things for us, but he also had certain matchups was tough for him defensively. But he's really shot the ball well. His ability to shoot the basketball, to be able to play the 5, kind of a stretch 5, but also still be able to play some 4. So there's going to be a lot of competition there, obviously with Mason and Trey Zach. That's, you know, where we really like our depth there. But no, he's looked really good here.
I know it's early, but Fletcher and Braden, what have you kind of noticed out of them, and how have they been able to kind of acclimate themselves into this team?
Yeah, well, both of them have a lot of similarities. You know, it's one of those things where a lot of times when you talk about two people, you got to have two separate answers. But they're both really competitive. They're both skilled. They can pass the basketball. They see what's going on. They have a really good feel, you know, for the game. Just trying to get them up to speed, kind of learning our terminology, learning our system more than anything. And then just trying to help them defensively, kind of our team defense and the rules that we have. But no, both of them are good players, and they're going to be really good players at Purdue.
Matt, how do you best use all those assets you have in your front court? You've
Right.
got a couple of different looks here.
Correct.
Both in getting those guys minutes, but also getting them into this sort of situation.
Yeah, you know, it's more of just trying to work towards, you know, what's the most productive and how can we win the most games, more than like talking about actual minutes with it. But, you know, being able to play differently when Zach's not in there. You know, obviously playing through Zach and getting the ball in the low post, but, you know, utilizing Trey Kaufman as a post-up guy when he's at the four. You know, really utilizing Caleb's ability to shoot the basketball. I think that's really jumped out, how well he's shooting it. And then Mason's done such a good job of playing off of people and then being able to get shots that way. And so just trying to run our stuff, but also run things that help each one of those lineups, depending on kind of who's with who.
Is there kind of benefit to having two different looks now, whereas before, every time you subbed at the five, you were always big?
Right. Yeah, I think so. Like, I think when you have to, you know, deal with Zach Edey, you're normally going to get to their backup. You know, he draws a lot of fouls. And so, like, most people don't have good backup centers. And if they do, they're probably young, they're not quite ready. So we normally get into people's, you know, bench. But no, utilizing, you know, those guys' skill sets more than anything, especially the guys that can shoot. But I think we can get some matchups, you know, with any of them. Like they're all different, but they all are skilled and they can shoot the basketball. I mean, Zach's obviously not going to go out on the perimeter and shoot a lot of perimeter shots, but all the other guys do. I mean, all the other guys stretch the defense. So when any of those three are with him, you know, they have the ability to pass, they have the ability to shoot the ball, and that really puts people in binds.
The returning guys that you have, are they embracing kind of this new leadership role to have to be the vocal leaders of this team after being kind of that second group last year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're embracing it. I think we're working on it. They're not. We have a lot of quiet guys, and you can't be quiet on the court. So we're really trying to work towards that. And somebody asked me that earlier, and I just started answering without really answering the question. But you know, Mason Gillis has been a good leader for us. Ethan Morton's been a good leader for us. It doesn't mean other people haven't. I think those two guys have kind of jumped to the forefront of guys that have been vocal leaders and guys that know what's going on. It's important to have guys that are consistent, that do their job, that can help other people. So,
It's day one, sorry.
You're fine, you're cool.
It's day one, but who's caught your eye for point guard?
Well, Braden Smith is kind of our only quintessential true point guard. David Jenkins is a guy that's played a lot and had a lot of experience. And he probably has the best feel in terms from a defensive standpoint. But he's very good at shooting the basketball and scoring the basketball. So kind of trying to find out like who can work with who. We also can do it by committee. So Ethan Morton has a lot of good point guard skills. It might not be from a quickness standpoint, but he's athletic, he's big, he can pass. So getting him in there, Fletcher's a guy that can pass the ball. So, having a couple of those guys together when Braden's not in the game, I think will be the way that we'll go. But there'll be different, when Braden's in there, I think we can have any set of 2 and 3. When the other guys are in there, I think they're going to need another guy to help, especially when you're dealing with people that are going to press.
So are you saying Braden's your starter?
No, I don't pick starters in September. So that's, you got to kind of earn that. Not kind of earn that, you have to earn that. So, but no, he's a good player. And so, you want to make sure that their development, sometimes you don't start guys right away just to keep them going. It just can't happen for them from day one. And sometimes you do. You have to make decisions as a coach, what's best for your team.
What's the most important thing you need to see in these next 5 weeks before the games get here?
Just being able to play without turning over, embracing the physicality of the game, knowing what's going on from our defensive and offensive rules, and then being able to stick with it. You got to know what you're doing. More than anything, when everybody knows what they're doing and they're on the same page, now you get to the competitive piece of it. Our competitive spirit has to keep growing through these practices.
Hey, Matt, last year, you seemed like there was lots of pressure on Purdue all the time. You had a lot of teaching moments today during your first practice.
Yeah.
And you looked more relaxed to kids. Is that down to their basketball IQ again?
Yeah, well, it's the way I am all the time, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. So, you know, always trying to teach, always trying to, you know, kind of get it figured out and having a pulse on your team more than anything. And so you're learning just like they're learning. You know, you can learn a lot from players if you listen and you watch and you kind of see what's going on. And I'm for them, like when they're taking everything in. When guys don't take things in, you know, either that's their learning curve or they're not paying attention, or, you know. But those guys that are bought in, that are listening, that are doing those things, those guys have a lot of success here. But I like what our staff has done. We've done a very good job of evaluating talent that works at Purdue and works in our league. And we've taken through the years, whether it's PJ or Dakota or Ryan Klein or Sasha Stefanovic, that, you know, weren't ranked very high but ended up being really productive players. And so I think we have some very similar guys on this roster that nobody's talking about that are going to be really productive players at Purdue. And that's what it's about, right? Get you guys to gel and play well together. And when you do that, you're going to win a lot of games.
What would you say the one key thing is that you're looking to improve